Dr. Al Watkins. I am the director of the Atlanta University Center's Data Science Initiative. And today it's my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Antonio Moretti from Spelman College. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's our honor to have you and to hear of some exciting research that you're doing at Spelman and get to know you a little better. And so I'd like to start by just allowing you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Watkins. I'm a new assistant professor at Spelman College in the computer science department. I was a Roman family teaching and research fellow at Barnard College of Columbia University. And before that, I worked in industry and did my PhD in computer science at Columbia. So great to be here. Thank you.
Nice to have you, and welcome to Atlanta. Since you say you're new, when did you start?
This fall. So we moved down here, my wife and I and kids moved down here in July. So what is that, 6 months, 7 months about?
I'd count that as new.
Yeah, still new.
So hopefully it's been a warm welcome that you've received, and you've had an opportunity this semester to work with students from Spelman. I don't know if you know this, I am a former Spelman faculty member in the computer science department, served a decade of my life with the lovely ladies of Spelman College, teaching computer science, and so I have enjoyed those years, had the recent opportunity to come back to Spelman for a summer science program, teach a little Python over the summer. Thought that was a great way to revisit the old stomping grounds.
Very cool, yeah.
I know a lot has continued to change at Spelman and grow, a lot of exciting things. So let's hear about some of the work that you're doing at Spelman in terms of data science.
Yeah, thank you. So my first semester I taught 2 classes. One was Intro to Data Science, which was based off of this online offering at Berkeley. That was an interesting class where students learn basic Python, manipulating data with tables, and then some statistics, so some hypothesis testing, and then in the third chunk of the course they do some predictive modeling, so some regression and classification work. I also taught a course called Developing Accessible User Interfaces, which is an interdisciplinary course that's at the intersection of user interface design and disability studies. So making websites accessible to folks who maybe are blind or developing other kind of access technologies. So that was a fun one as well.
Awesome. Were these courses open to students not majoring in computer science?
Yeah, they both were. Usually, I think in both of these, because seniors need to fulfill a requirement, I think I got almost exclusively computer science majors who were seniors, but technically anybody can take either of these classes.
Okay, so the prereqs wouldn't knock out.
No prerequisites for either of them.
Oh, gotcha. Well, good. Yeah. Well, hopefully as the years go by and students learn about this opportunity, more students from other majors might take advantage of it. Would you see that as an advantage for
Absolutely.
these courses?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I think it's good to have courses that are accessible, and computer science and STEM in general has a reputation as maybe being less accessible. So teaching that course definitely helped kind of reinforce some ideas about how all people benefit from a world that is more accessible in general, not just necessarily folks that identify as disabled.
So what were your impressions of the students' desire, ability, interest to grab hold to some of the tools and techniques of data science that were introduced in those courses?
I think it was good. I think both of them went really well. The data science course, I think students who were computer science majors maybe knew some Python, but some of the statistics was an opportunity to, learn in a way that's maybe a little more grounded in real problems. So I think it was good. I think hopefully the courses were popular. The course evaluations were good. That's always good. so I think it went well. Hopefully,
we do listen to the voice of the customer, i.e., the student.
Absolutely, yeah. But went well, I think so.
That's good. That's good. Well, why don't we turn our attention a little bit to your research interests? Could you describe to us your research interests, particularly those related to data science?
Yeah, I was really interested in machine learning, and within machine learning, the topic that I worked on when I was a grad student is called Bayesian inference, and it's a subtopic in Bayesian inference called approximate Bayesian inference. So it's all about figuring out ways to get approximate solutions to problems that maybe are intractable or maybe would take too long on a computer, too much compute to run exactly. So they're statistical models that need a lot of compute, and maybe instead of an exact solution, we settle with something that's kind of close enough. So that's how I think of the subject.
Is there a domain or specific problem that comes to mind that our audience might relate to, how this Bayesian inference would be helpful?
Yeah, I did my PhD in a computational biology lab. I didn't have a background in biology myself, but I was really interested in first neuroscience, but then later this idea of phylogenetic inference. So the way I think about it is in biology, I guess the big idea is evolution, the idea that all life is related. And phylogenetic inference is this technique that takes sequences, so DNA, RNA, or maybe proteins, and it draws these trees. It tries to come up with trees that are basically like a tree of life, like what species or organisms are more closely related. And then if we go up the tree, if we go back in time, maybe everything eventually is related. So that's the topic that I wanted to work on developing approximate inference methods for. Yeah, happy to say more about that if it's.
Love to talk about that. Remember an article featuring a woman who looked like me,
Nice.
Who might be the root of all humanity using science to make that determination. Are you involved with anything close to that?
Yeah, generally, that's the big idea, trying to understand evolution from sequences. I guess, it's really interesting. We know that all life is related. We understand that, just thinking about it, we each have two parents. Our parents have two parents. If we go back in time, we're essentially doubling the number of ancestors that we have. And it's really remarkable to think about all of your ancestors. So if you go back in time across generations, you have really hundreds of millions of ancestors. And all life is connected. So not just human beings, but all life in general. So it's really a remarkable idea to think about evolution and to think about how we're all connected as living beings. And I guess the kind of technical part to that analysis is that the number of trees, so if we think about counting the number of binary trees, so trees where there's one parent and two child, that scales super exponentially with the number of leaf nodes. So if you have a small number of leaf nodes, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure exactly, but 20, 30, you're already talking about more trees, more tree shapes than the number of atoms in the universe. So it's that's the kind of computer science-y part, is how are we going to search through this tree space in a way that is good enough, because we can't do it exactly.
Got you. That's one of my favorite domains is family tree making. I I do it for my own family. I'm grateful for tools that now are available to help with that. And those, we use a program, genie.com, but there's Ancestry and others.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
And we got that process started. I think we're over 2,000 or 4,000 people. How'd that happen? Well, you just kept going.
That's great. That's great.
So the research you're doing is very practical, has some very practical applications, it sounds like. Are you introducing students to get engaged with any of your research efforts?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I've found in going from like a student to like a research fellow to a faculty member is like breaking up the research into bite-sized chunks that students could work on maybe over a semester. So I love to work with students. I think it's great. It's research can be a little lonely, and maybe the process of doing research can kind of feel like you're talking to yourself a lot. So it's definitely good to involve students, and it's a good challenge to say, can I explain this in a way that an undergrad can not only understand but contribute to? I think that's a good way to keep yourself honest about what you're doing that's good for you. It helps. It definitely helps me. So
fantastic. I understand you are a recipient of one of our Microsoft mini grants.
Thank you. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's
What was more or less the focus of your research relative to the mini grant?
Yeah, the original description. Yeah, thank you again. That's definitely a good opportunity. The original description for the grant that I wrote up was trying to understand, to work on this problem called single cell sequencing data. So there's this new technology, maybe it's 10 or 15 years old, and instead of analyzing DNA from mixtures of cells, it looks at DNA from individual cells. So it's kind of like understanding individual people in a group as opposed to understanding the whole group. And that's super useful for understanding cancer evolution because you can think of cancer as like evolution on a much faster time scale. So there are these random mutations in cells, and there's a kind of natural selection process where the most aggressive kinds of cancers end up surviving. And so the original description that I wrote was based on trying to develop methods for phylogenetic inference, so methods that take sequences and draw trees, basically, but specifically for this new technology that sequences individual cells from tumors, which folks are excited about because it gives you a better picture of what's going on instead of like a blend of DNA from different tumors, which is hard to kind of make sense of. What I did was something different ultimately, but that was the original description.
So your pivot, it sounds like, was due to what?
It was, to be honest, it was somewhat opportunistic.
Okay.
So it was, so single cell sequencing data introduces some noise that can make it difficult to get an accurate sequence read. So there are different ways people try to model that noise. What I ultimately wanted to work on was something more foundational. So there's another direction that I had kind of thought of incorporating with the single cell sequence research. They're not totally separate, but I ended up going in that direction instead. It's not that the work couldn't be adapted to single cell sequencing data. It's just that the idea that I had was to pivot somewhat based on some other research I was doing. And some of it, to be honest, has to do with when you're writing papers, there's it's easier to work on something that you've already kind of worked on a little bit. It's kind of like some of the legwork is already done, and I found that the pivot would have been a kind of easier goal basically than moving in the other direction. Not that I still couldn't, but
Interesting. Yeah. I do know that you've gotten a paper accepted at a very prestigious conference. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. I got an AI stats paper accepted. So that's one of in machine learning, in computer science, right? We have these conferences that people like to publish in instead of journals because computer science moves so fast. And in machine learning, there may be 5 or 6 big conferences that people really like to publish in. So NeurIPS is one of them, ICML, ICLR, AI Stats, and UAI are basically the big ones. And this was in AI Stats, so one of those big ones, which is nice.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
No small feat. Right?
Yeah, thank you to the AUC for the mini grant. Definitely helped, and it's excited to keep working on.
Fantastic. Well, we want to hear from you as you continue this research. We also want you to stay engaged with us with the Data Science Initiative, because one of the things we're aiming to do is to increase data science curricula on HBCU campuses, but also data science research. And so it's going to be very important for us to make sure our researchers are meeting one another, sharing ideas, having forums that we typically will provide as an institute for you all to share what is possible, right? And what are the pursuits being pursued that might have some opportunities for collaboration. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that kind of conversation happen. Have you found Spelman or the Atlanta University Center a fruitful place for those kinds of conversations to begin?
Absolutely, it's a great community, both at Spelman and the wider AUC. I met you 2 years ago. Actually, I had come down for one of these AUC Data Science Initiative talks, I believe, and yeah, it's definitely a great community. It's one of the things that motivated me to apply for the job at Spelman. And I think both the AUC and the wider Atlanta community is a great place to be for data science research and for academics in general. It's a good community.
Very good, very good. Are you involved at all with the effort to establish a data science minor at Spelman? Are you familiar with that? And will these courses that you're teaching serve the purpose of that minor?
Yeah, I think Dr. Hill has mentioned, Dr. Hill's the chair at Spelman. She's mentioned, the kind of development of new courses. I talked to her a lot about this, adapting this Intro to Data Science course from Berkeley, thinking about other courses that we can create, and then also a summer program, I believe, this summer I think I'll be involved in. That's, I think, for incoming freshmen, I want to say. But yeah, definitely exciting times, and looking forward to.
Well, one of the courses that we've spearheaded development of is called Data in the African Diaspora, right? And so we actually had looked at what they were doing at Berkeley and other places for introductory courses. So I'm fascinated to learn that you developed an intro data science course in your first semesters here, and want to make sure you take a look at our Data in the African Diaspora course and see if that's something that fits the directions that you envision helping students get exposed and apply these tools.
Absolutely. Who's teaching it?
So we have Miss Yvonne Phillips at Morehouse.
I think I've met her, yes. I've met her at the AUC event. Yes, I know her.
And she'll be teaching at Spelman this summer.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So definitely want you two to
have
further dialogue.
I would love to write to her and chat about ways to collaborate, take content from Data for the African Diaspora, use it in our course, maybe vice versa would be good. So.
Right, give my shout out to Yvonne Phillips Taylor out there. We travel a lot spreading this good news of data science. She being a champion for many years and has worked in the AU Center helping us with what we've been able to accomplish thus far and continue to do going forward. So tell us more about where you'd like to see your research go in terms of involving students. How can that be manifest, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what's good for students in doing research is it's a way to learn about what research is all about. I certainly wasn't doing research when I was an undergrad or even a master's student. Also, practically, research can help you figure out if maybe you want to get a PhD. I think a PhD in computer science is still a great engine for social mobility. It definitely opened doors in my life that would not have been possible had I not had that opportunity. And there's a bit of a game to getting into a good PhD program. Unfortunately in life, right, everything gets moved, gets harder for the younger generations, I feel, even than, what are they, is it Gen Z now, I think?
At least.
It's Gen Z. It's, so there's, unfortunately, to get into, one of these PhD programs, you almost need to have done research already. And it's kind of like, the point of a PhD is to learn how to do research. But unfortunately, you almost need to have done research to get your foot in the door because of the way the whole funding situation works with professors who like to hire folks who can basically work independently and, produce papers on their own. So one of the things that I think is good about working with students, working with project students that I like is you can help students. Hopefully, the ideal situation is a student gets a first author paper in a good place, and that really opens doors for a funded PhD program. So I think it can act in a way to not only learn about do I want to do research, do I want to kind of maybe have an academic career or not, but in a more practical way, it can open a lot of doors to a kind of engine for social mobility if you get into one of these programs. So.
I ran interdisciplinary research group when I was at Spelman, so I got to interact with students from different departments, biology, chemistry, and that was a rich experience. For one, the students got to learn from each other and share their discipline. It's one thing to learn a subject, it's another to be able to teach someone outside your discipline how to use your tools, right? And so I was very proud of how they worked hard throughout the semester, and this was no extra except maybe a trip to a conference and present some of your work. But at that time we were generally unfunded, and so they really just worked to learn. And some of them really benefited when they went to apply for graduate school, either if they were just going for a master's, to be able to say, hey, I've presented at conferences, I've done this research, and I understand that process that distinguishes them a lot of times in the application pool. So I agree with you. This is sort of a upward mobility move to engage our students in research. And so I'm glad the data science initiative is helping our institutions figure that out, what that should look like, and how we can support it.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Well, you encourage me to continue such efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Well, last thing, if you were talking to a faculty member who hasn't started a research program yet, but might want to, some first steps they might consider in getting something going on their campus.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say definitely reach out to the AUC. They can maybe help out with some funding, and also it's a good community. And then maybe just the broader points about community and research being a little isolating as a whole. So it's good to have folks to talk out loud with. I found that like writing a paper, basically is 6 months to a year and a half maybe of working on something that you're not talking to too many people about. So it can be very helpful to just have, very grounding to have people to discuss stuff with. And, so yeah, definitely I would reach out. I would get involved in the AUC DSI initiative. And if there's a way to get some funding, I think that's great as well. And loop in students. I think you have a great student population at Spelman, at Morehouse, at Clark, as well as other faculty members. So,
and don't forget the Morehouse School of Medicine.
And Morehouse School of Medicine. That's a great point. I would love to actually learn more about that or get in touch with faculty from Morehouse School of Medicine. I always remember Morehouse School of Medicine, but I think it maybe just be physically, because I've been to the Spelman, Clark, and Morehouse campuses a ton, but I haven't been to the Morehouse School of Medicine campus as much.
Yeah, we have great engagement in data science at MSM, and we're really happy to have that as part of what we're doing. So yeah, any ways we can help with making connections, we're here to do that. Have you had any limitations regards to the kinds of equipment that you would need to do the research, or other resources that would help that we should be aware of?
Well, one thing that's good, because I ended up in computer science, there's no like wet lab component. So it's not like if I was doing maybe a different work in biology, I might need, some people have these like expensive labs that, cost a ton of money.
So you let them generate the data and then you do the analysis?
Yeah,
is that how that works?
Like doing like the more statsy or like the theory stuff is kind of, in some ways can be a little cheaper. The only spend really is on, well, one, it helps to be able to hire students. If you could pay students, that's good. But even that, it's not too much what students get paid for research. And then two, most of the work, it's not done on your like laptop. Usually we rent like cloud computers, so like paying, I don't know, used to be Google or Amazon. I found one called Lambda Labs that's like way cheaper. That's good. That's like $129 an hour. That's pretty good. $1.29.
Microsoft makes a product, in case you didn't know, there's Azure out there.
Azure, yeah. How much? I don't even know how much.
We just, since they're our sponsor,
oh, there we go. Azure.
Sure
Yes,
we include such things.
Good point. Yes.
But yes, lots of cloud environments are available, including those from Microsoft.
Azure, yes.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming. I hope you'll come back and see us.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Marcus.
Awesome. This has been tremendous.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for joining in with us. Join us again for another exciting edition